Hello my friends, it is your brother Hampton from Hybrid Calisthenics. Today I'm going to address a very common question I get, which is, Hampton, how do I do more push-ups? And the simple answer is that it really depends on what level of fitness you're currently at. If you can't really do a push-up or you can do fewer than 5, then don't worry because there's best practice that can get you there. If you can do between 5 and let's say 25 to 30, that area, there are things you can do. And if you can do beyond 30, if you can do 40, 50, 60, 70, and you want ways to where you can do 100, 200, or even more, there are different ways you can practice that. So no matter where you're currently at, if you clicked on this video and you want to learn to do more push-ups, I'll try to find something in this video that can help you. Now, before I get started, I do want to quickly mention that I tell people all the time not to get too obsessed with their numbers. It seems like from a very young age, like elementary school or even before, kids are always challenging each other to see how many push-ups they can do. How many push-ups can you do? How fast can you run? When really this is just an exercise, like most exercises, that's meant to strengthen us or grow muscle. And eventually, after we get to a certain rep range, just build endurance. Some would argue that you're doing cardio with your arms. So don't get too obsessed over the numbers. It's really an exercise that's supposed to improve you. It doesn't really matter if someone can do more push-ups than you can, or you can do more than they can. But I understand there are fitness exams in the military or sometimes in school where you have to do a certain number of push-ups in order to pass. So hopefully this video can also help with that. So just to quickly summarize the video, I'll talk about 3 different ways you can practice push-ups depending on what level of fitness you're currently at. And at the end, I'll talk about an isometric warm-up that you can try that should be able to increase the number of push-ups you do no matter what level you're at. Look at these leaves. This is a persimmon tree, I think. All right, let's get started. It feels like it's been a while since I've done a longer video that talks about fitness and exercise. Recently, it's been the Coffee with Hampton stuff, but we won't really talk about philosophy today. Unless the popularity of push-ups is because it's a metaphor for how many of us have been taught to push away our feelings ever since we were young. We don't want things near us. We're literally pushing the world away. Or maybe because it's just a good exercise for your upper body. That's probably it. Okay, so if you can't do regular full push-ups yet, either they're kind of ugly and you struggle up like this, or even if you can kind of do them, but you can only do 2 or 3 or less than 5. The way I would improve is to work on easier variations. So I've talked before about how there's many different kinds of push-ups. Some are easier, some are harder. But if you can't do a push-up yet, or you can't do very many, then you can use these in order to build up. Something I want to clarify is that after you build up, the goal isn't to only work with the hardest variation you can possibly do. So similar to how most weightlifters don't only train with their 1 rep max, even if you can do a push-up variation, even 1 or 2 with good form, doesn't mean it's the best way for you to train and get strong. Even if you want to start your workout by doing the hard variations, you can always finish up by doing some of the easier ones so you can gain more repetitions and more practice. By the way, you can combine some of these variations if one is a little bit too easy or too hard for you, like a kneeling incline push-up. And just a quick note that if you struggle to do wall push-ups, then I would seriously just consider bench pressing the air like this. Maybe you can hold some soup cans or water bottles, just anything that's safe and you can hold competently so you don't drop it on your face. But just to get you used to the motion of pressing and pushing. Ideally, I would do them on a narrow bench where my shoulders could go past my body like this, just so I can get that extra bit of range of motion. And really, after you can get to the point where you can do 5 push-ups with solid form, the rest of my advice in this video is going to be pretty straightforward. Again, this is a pretty simple video. And as you're going through this period of doing between 5 and 20, 25 push-ups, you'll be building strength and muscle. So 1 to twice a week, I would work them hard for 2 or 3 sets. And that's really all you need to grow week by week. And I just want to add an extra note here for heavier individuals. If you are overweight or obese, of course, your journey with push-ups might be a little bit different. Now, off the top of your head, you might think it'll be harder because even if you have a bigger body, even if it's mostly muscle, your push-ups are going to be harder if you're 300, 350 pounds. You're carrying that much more weight. So, yes, in the instance of some individuals with higher body fat percentages, they may struggle to go from 5 push-ups to 10 push-ups to 15. It may take them several months, whereas it only takes some people a few days or a few weeks. But I wouldn't stress too much about it because you're probably going to be losing fat as well. I'm assuming you're combining your exercise plan with some kind of diet. And also, Keep in mind, there are some very fit individuals out there, you can find them on YouTube, who are just absolutely shredded and very good athletes. But if you strap 200, 250 pounds, whatever the weight difference between you and them is, they may not be able to do a single push-up. So try to take some peace and solace in that, and don't feel like you have to rush, because you might be gaining that much more strength. You might be a lot stronger between 5 and 10 push-ups compared to someone who's 200 pounds lighter than you are, simply because you're pushing more weight. And I want to add that for some heavier individuals, it might actually be easier, because if they are already very strong simply from carrying their heavy body around, maybe doing some heavy-duty lifting, and they're losing a lot of fat at the time, they might suddenly find their push-up numbers skyrocketing. So just because you're heavier doesn't mean you'll really struggle going between 5 and 25, because if you're already very strong and then you lose that fat, then you're basically just taking off a weight vest and your numbers can go up very quickly. And I should probably mention, because people will bring it up, that some say that between like 9 and 10 push-ups, you're not building any strength or muscle at all. You're basically only doing cardio with your arms. I haven't found that to be true at all. You can argue about why in the comments if you like. But after you get to the point where you can do, say, 25, 30 good push-ups, then most people would consider going beyond that to be endurance training. So you should plan accordingly. I don't know why I'm still doing push-ups. You know what they are, you know what they look like. Here, have an extra one. But yes, when you're training to do 50 or more push-ups, I find that the best thing to do is just to train a lot of push-ups. As a teenager, at night after work, I would watch TV, and every time there was a commercial break, I would do 25 push-ups slow and steady. And after a show, which had around 4 commercials, I would have done 100 push-ups. And I started doing this every day, and I built up to a high number this way. And what you'll find at this point is that some variables that didn't seem to matter that much earlier on in your journey will suddenly matter a lot more, simply because your sets will take a lot longer. For example, you have to remember to breathe. You can hold your breath when you're doing between 3 and 5 push-ups, but when you're doing 50, 80, 100, and your sets will last 2 or 3 minutes, you can't hold your breath the whole time. Or you shouldn't hold your breath the whole time. An easy breathing pattern that you can try is simply to inhale on the way down and exhale on the way up. And if you need to take more breaths, then you can do them in between reps. And I also found at this point that my sleep and diet played a large role in the number of reps I could do. When I was 19, I moved to a different state, and I saw my push-up numbers go down. This was back when I was still doing them every day. And then one day I thought, well, I'm not eating nearly as many fruits and veggies as I used to. So I went to a salad bar, and suddenly my push-ups, I could do a lot more of them. Go figure. And of course, if I didn't sleep well, which is pretty common in college, then my push-up numbers suffered. In fact, my overall life suffered a little bit if I didn't sleep well. I know I sound like a broken record. I know I say it all the time, but please try to get at least 8 hours of solid rest every night. It's important. Oh yes, and I mentioned an isometric warm-up that you can try to do more push-ups. Warming up properly in general will help you do more. With push-ups, it's very simple to warm up. Simply find an easier variation than the one you'll be training with and do about 50% of your max of that. For example, if you're going to be training with regular full push-ups, then you can warm up with incline push-ups. And if you can do 50 incline push-ups at max, then do 25 to warm up. Anyway, isometric warm-up. After you do that, if you find a safe and sturdy bar like this, and you find something you can press against, ideally something with give, so something that when you push is going to push back. Hey, Editing Hampton here. I just want to reiterate that it's really super duper important that if you are going to use this warm-up, to use a sturdy metal stick. If you use a broom handle made of wood or hollow aluminum, it might snap while you're pushing and seriously hurt you. So it's better not to do it if you don't have something that you can use, or you can simply just use your hands and push against the tree itself without using a rod. But with this warm-up, you are pushing as hard as you can, and you can probably push harder than you think. So even if you don't think you're that strong, even if you don't think you can snap something, please err on the side of caution and just don't do it, or do it some other way. This is a very handy exercise, very handy warm-up, and I might make separate videos about it another day, but I just want to reiterate that because it is important to me that you don't hurt yourself. And you can push as hard as you can for about 5 or 6 seconds, and then rest for 30 seconds to a minute. And then you can try again. You can experiment with different angles. I like about halfway. This seems to get us ready for handling a very heavy load, yet doesn't seem to exhaust us, so we can usually end up doing more push-ups. There's probably a better variation of this out there somewhere, but this is the one that I usually use. Let me know if you can think of a better one. Well, thank you so much for watching. I hope this video can help you. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Have a beautiful day.